Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Channel Show. Also, apologies, I did catch the usual Anime Expo bug cold flu, the post-con cold/flu. Thankfully, it was not COVID, but I'm not feeling super great. However, this was a video that a lot of people were looking forward to and wanted to see, and since I did get some books from Anime Expo, surprise, surprise, along with all of my other merch, I figured that those would be good to read post Anime Expo. So, post Anime Expo reading vlog. Today is the Wednesday after Anime Expo, July 10th, and I'm just gonna let myself take my time with this reading vlog because I am sick and I don't want to feel like I'm rushing or like doing too much, or that I'm pushing myself too much. There is one series that I do want to get to in this vlog, but I didn't include it in the thumbnail because I'm waiting on volume 1. But to go over my TBR, this is the first time I've really had a TBR for a reading vlog, which should be interesting. Hopefully I stick to it. But to start off with what I'm currently reading, I'm listening to an audiobook. It's Forensics by Val McDermid, and I think I'm maybe like 30% of the way through it. I'm not going to update too much about this book, but I wanted to throw it in there as one of the books I'm currently reading. But I am focusing on the books in the stack right in front of me. The other book that I'm currently reading is Heaven Official's Blessing by Mojang Tong Ju, and I did get this one signed by the artist, one of the artists who contributed to Zelda CW. Like, look at that picture. I just want them to be happy. Interior illustrations by Zelda CW. Thankfully, she was at Anime Expo this year. They were at Anime Expo this year. I'm so happy I got the signs, and I did pick up a lot of artwork from her. A lot of the stickers that I got in my merchandise haul were from her. So I will link her Instagram down below, their Instagram. I am also reading this. Let's see, where am I? Oh, this was one of the bookmarks I got from her too. I'm at chapter 35, page 103, and the chapters are set up like across the books. So this is chapter 35 within the whole story, but it is book 3, volume 3. And then I'm also hoping to read volume 4 just to get all the volumes that I own read. Hopefully I will get volumes 5 through 8 soon-ish. I don't know how soon it'll be, but I need volumes 5 through 8 ASAP. Hopefully I will be reading this after volume 3 just so I can continue the story for a little bit. And then, as I mentioned, I am waiting on volume 1. I am waiting on volume 1 of this series, and that is Delicious in Dungeon. My sister graciously and thankfully got me volume 2 at the main manga booth that was there because volume 1 had sold out in in-person stores basically nationwide from what I've heard. I did order the book off of Barnes& and Noble, and I had it shipped to me, so I think it'll get here within a week. Like, the estimated delivery date as of right now is July 17th, which is next Wednesday, so once that comes, I will read volume 1 and then this one as well. And then I also have volume 4 of the Apothecary Diaries to read. I have to watch the anime still. I am holding off a little bit so I can read a couple more volumes of this. I want to get a couple more of the volumes and then read a little bit more and then start the anime series. Just because, for me at least, I feel like in the past I would either read the manga around the same time I was watching the anime or after I'd watch the anime, and I kind of want to do the reverse where I read the manga first and then watch the anime just to see if I prefer one or the other or if I have equal feelings about it. And yes, I did have another little sporadic bookshelf reorganization. I moved all my manga and graphic novels and also all of my paperbacks over to this shelf, and then I moved the book of the month stuff over onto my main bookshelf just because it was a little bit heavy and I was like leaning to one side. Now, the next two books are graphic novels, and I'm pretty sure they're webtoons turned graphic novels. The first one is Villains Are Destined to Die. I'm trying not to read, but I'm trying to find. This is by Soul, Suol. This one seems really interesting. It seems definitely up my alley. I love the artwork in it when I've skimmed through it. It's beautiful artwork. And then the next graphic novel is The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine. The original story is by Irinbi, and then the art is by Grrr. Oh, the artwork for this one is by Swell, I think, and then the original story is by Huan Yo. I'm so sorry I'm saying that wrong, I know it. I'm really looking forward to these. Again, stories are right up my alley, and then the artwork for both of these is absolutely gorgeous. And then last but not least, I'm not putting too much pressure on myself for this last book, just because one, it is an arc, and two, I want to get through the others first. But that is Under the Oak Tree by Suji Kim. And this is the novel, volume 1. This is a webtoon, and they're making it into a novel series. They're novelizing it. And honestly, I have read a little bit of the webtoon. I don't know, like for me, recently, reading stuff electronically, like on a computer or on my phone, reading stuff on a screen has been a little bit harder for me recently. And I'm so happy I got this. I got this at the Inklore booth, the Inklore Books booth. And the gal was super sweet. She's like, "Are you guys a fan?" Like, I was there with my friend, and it's like, "Yes." And then she handed this to us. It is a very thick book, very nice paper, you know. And then it is, I'm trying not to read too far ahead, but including the Seven Kingdoms handbook is 484 pages. The handbook at the end just goes over characters and terms. I'm really looking forward to this. The artwork is gorgeous as usual. And this story is right up my alley, and I am planning. They have 2 hardcover versions, I think, one with a sprayed edge. Both are really gorgeous. I'm getting both of them. I have yet to pre-order them, but I'm going to pre-order. So definitely look into this if you're a fan of Under the Oak Tree. This is published November 12th, 2024. And that's right around my birthday. There's a lot of books coming out around my birthday. But as I said, I'm starting out with the one I'm currently reading, which is Heaven Official's Blessing Volume 3. I did start this while at Anime Expo while I was sitting and just relaxing, so that's why I had started it already. But I will see you all in my next update. Okay, so it's time for a little bit of an update. I am working on making my bed again, and I had a minute or two to do this, so I figured why not do it. Also, excuse my nails. So I did finish volume 3 of Heaven Official's Blessing. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave it 5 stars. I really love the series so far. I just taking over my life. And then I have started volume 4, and there are 8 volumes in total. It's a completed series, and I could really use more of the anime right now too as well, because we need this in the anime as well. Really enjoying this. The series is probably going to be in like the 4.75 to 5-star range once I'm done with it. If you want an overview of what the story is about, this is volume 1 specifically. You can get it at most Barnes & Nobles and other big name bookstores, and also Amazon. And you follow the story of Jianli, who is the crown prince of a prosperous kingdom. He died young, became a god, rose to like the heavenly realm. He was banished twice from the heavenly realm, and we're following his third ascension to the heavenly realm, and most of the other gods are kind of fed up with this guy who keeps getting banished. He keeps falling and then rising again, and he also seems to be a favorite of Heaven's Emperor. And we also follow, slightly to a lesser extent, we also follow the story of Selong and kind of what his background is, who he is, and kind of learning more about him, and also figuring out and exploring this dynamic between Ji Liang and Selong. I don't think I'm saying the names right. I watched the anime in Mandarin, and it was a little bit harder for me to pick up on some of the names, but I am hoping to rewatch it in English to kind of hear the names a little bit better. But that's probably not going to happen soon. I am hoping it will happen within the relative near future. I highly recommend the series. I could not recommend it enough, even though I'm only like on the 4th novel. And I did finish Forensics by Val McDermott. I think I rated it like 3.75 stars because it is a very interesting read, and it is a read that is beneficial, you know, to kind of figure out how they solve crimes. But I definitely think it could use like an update or a revision to kind of include some more modern ways. Well, it's not that it's not modern, it was published in 2014, but I think it could just use like a bit of an update for more advanced technology within forensic labs and the study of forensics. But this was a very interesting read nonetheless. I've also restarted, I should say, A Short Walk Through a Wide World by Douglas Westerbeek. I'm listening to this as an audiobook through Book of the Month, and I had DNF'd it pretty early on last month, back in June at least, just because I was having a little bit of a hard time getting into it. But I think now I'm kind of in the place where I kind of want that kind of book, so we're listening to this. And I've also started an ebook through Libby. I'm blanking on the name of the book, but it's this one right here, and I've heard mixed things about it. Like, I've heard good things, I've heard not so great things. I haven't heard outright bad things about this book, but just that it was kind of mediocre. So I kind of figured I might as well give it a try and read it for myself. And if I decide to put it down, I decide to put it down. If I decide to read it to the end, that's what we're doing. But yeah, we're just going with the flow right now. I am feeling a lot better. I'm still feeling a little bit congested and have a little bit of a cough, but I am feeling a lot better right now. So hopefully we're just on the up and up. I'm about to do some organizing in my room and like getting things a little bit more under control. And I was gonna pull up A Short Walk Through a Wide World by Douglas Westerbeek, the audiobook and book of the month. And that kind of got me thinking. I like that book of the month has audiobooks now. It's had audiobooks for a while. But something that kind of bothers me with the book of the month audiobooks is that it only shows you how far you're in an individual chapter, and you can't like choose like to see how far you're in the book as a whole. That bothers me a little bit, but it's not a huge deal. Okay, so I have finished Heaven Official's Blessing Volume 4, and as I think I've sort of mentioned in a different way, I only have up to Volume 4 in the series. Hopefully I can get Volumes 5 through 8 in the near-ish future. I love this series. This series has a chokehold on me. I love it. More people need to read it. Happily, I did see a couple of Heaven Official's Blessing cosplayers at Anime Expo this year, and that made me really happy because this series, both the book series and the anime, deserves so much love, and it deserves all the hype. And then I got Delicious in Dungeon Volume 1 today in the mail. I'm super happy with it. I haven't really checked if it's back in stock in bookstores yet, but as I said, I ordered this through the Barnes & Noble app. Yeah, I'm really happy about that. And speaking of getting books, I am going to unhaul, well, I feel really bad about returning books, but I got this book at Anime Expo. I did not include it in my haul video because initially I was going to gift it to a friend, and then it turns out that that friend already had it, and I had just mistook this cover for another book series that I was interested in. Like, I'd mistook the color scheme. And when I was researching the series, like, I wanted to like it, The series is Lord Hades' Ruthless Marriage. Like, I wanted to like it, but it's just not something I can see myself getting into. It doesn't seem like the strongest Hades and Persephone retelling, although it does seem cute and kind of laid back. It just doesn't feel like something I would like. So I am going to be returning this within the next month or so. Again, I feel so bad about returning books, but again, it was just something that I had confused the color scheme with another book that I was interested in, and I grabbed volume 2, and my friend already has volume 2, so it's like, there's no point in me holding on to it. However, because I need to finish the volumes that I currently have on my shelf for the series, I'm going to move on to the Apothecary Diaries Volume 4, and I'm thinking after this, it'll either be Delicious in Dungeon or Fruits Baskets. I know I was kind of focusing on the books that I got at Anime Expo for this vlog, but since this is a general like post-Anime Expo reading vlog and I'm just focusing on manga and graphic novels, I'll see how I feel. So, as I was saying, after I read Volume 4 of the Apothecary Diaries, it's either going to be Delicious in Dungeon, Fruits Basket, or one of the 2 graphic novels that I got at Anime Expo, and that's Villains Are Destined to Die, or The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine. I kind of don't want to start another series just yet, so I'm probably going to turn to reading Fruits Basket Volumes 2 through 5. Those are the volumes I have on my shelf, and then I'll move on to the other series. But right now, I'm just trying to finish up the series that I need to catch up with, at least for the volumes on my bookshelves, which means the Apothecary Diaries. This one probably is going to be pretty quick. Okay, so I have another reading update. It's the next day, and I did read... Wow, I totally blanked on the name of this for a second, even though I'm holding it. I read Volume 4 of the Apothecary Diaries. Really enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 4.5 out of 5 stars or 4.75. So I am really enjoying this. This is a very easy, bingeable manga series, so I am really enjoying it. For the time being, I only have up to volume 4, so we'll move on to other stuff now. And because I remembered it last night after I finished up the Apothecary Diaries Volume 4, I also read The Remarried Empress Volume 7 because I remembered that I hadn't read this yet. This is a series that I really love and really enjoy, and it kind of started getting me back into like the manga and graphic novel universe, so I'm really happy about that. And basically the premise of The Remarried Empress is you have the Emperor and Empress. Jovesu is the Emperor and then Navier is the Empress. Jovesu took on a mistress and then decided he wanted to marry his mistress, so he was like, I'm going to divorce my wife. The Empress, Navier, was like, okay, I'll accept the divorce on the condition that I get to remarry. And the bishop guy was like, okay, accept your terms, because it's like we have no other choice. If the emperor wants to marry, if the emperor wants to remarry, we have no choice but to accept the condition, and that's like her only condition. So that's the premise of this. And just to give like a little bit of a premise for the Apothecary Diaries, I do have to read the back of it a little bit. But essentially, our main character, Mao Mao, is trained in the art of herbal medicine, and then she starts out as a lowly servant in the inner palace. And then after a little while, she catches the eyes of people, and then she's promoted to attendant and food taster, and she has to use her training with herbal medicine and apothecaries to kind of wade through her new life. And with the Apothecary Diaries and The Remarried Empress, I only have up to volume 7 of The Remarried Empress, because that's all there is for the physical graphic novels. And right now, that is just how I'm reading it. There is a webtoon if you want to read more of it or have not read it. There is a webtoon. But with those two out of the way now, I've moved on to Fruits Basket, and this is volume 2 because I've already read volume 1. And for me, this is a reread because I read it years ago, and you can see here I have up to volume 5. I'm just going to kind of binge through volumes 2 through 5 and then move on to something else. So that's what we're doing. So to give a bit of a summary for Fruits Baskets, right off the bat, we learned that our main character, Toru Honda, her mother had passed away in a tragic accident. Her father died when she was young. After that, she decides that she's gonna take matters into her own hands, and she moves into a tent. But what she doesn't learn is that the tent is on private property and specifically belonging to the Soma family, one member of whom she's a classmate with, Yuki Soma. After a little while, they take her in and let her live with them, basically for room and board while she cleans and cooks, while also having a roof over her head and then also attending school. And while she's there, she learns a little secret about the Soma family. She's living with Yuki, another member of the Soma family, Shigure, and then Kyo also falls into the mix, and she learns that there are 12 members of this family that, when hugged by the members of the opposite sex, so when men are hugged or boys are hugged by girls and women, and when girls and women are hugged by boys and men, basically when they're hugged by the member of the opposite sex, they turn into a member of the Chinese zodiac. I'm not going to say who's who because I feel like that would give too much away. And you're basically following the story of Toru as she navigates with this family, and Toru has always loved the cat, even though the cat isn't really a member of the zodiac. If you know, you know. If you don't know, read the series. But I am moving on to volume 2 of Fruits Basket now, and I read it when it was the individual volumes of the manga, and initially I was going to build up my collection a little bit more for these collector's editions, but then I just decided why not go ahead and read it while I'm in this post-Anime Expo reading vlog. Okay, so I have another update, and that is I finished Fruits Basket Volume 2. I really enjoyed it. It's a story I'm already very familiar with because, as I've said, I've already read Volume 1, and I've already read the series as a whole years ago, and I love the old anime. I still need to watch the new one, which should hopefully happen in the nearest future. It's a story I'm already familiar with, so it's kind of easy to just breeze through it, even though it is this larger collector's edition version. It is a nice kind of palette cleanser, so to say, for me, since I'm still kind of resetting from Anime Expo, kind of just to get back into the groove of reading a little more consistently and just getting back into a reading groove that I like. I definitely recommend the series if you haven't read it yet, or if you haven't watched the anime, go watch the anime. I would probably recommend watching the new one, even though I haven't watched that one yet, just because the new one is a little bit closer to the manga than the old one is, but I do really love the old one. And then instead of immediately going to volume 3, as you saw from the clip, I just decided to pick up Villains Are Destined to Die in the End. And the reason why I chose this is because, as much as I would love to just continue with Fruits Basket, I was just thinking I do need to wrap this reading vlog within the next week and a half. It's currently Wednesday the 17th, but I need to be able to finish up this vlog by the 27th or 28th. So next Saturday or Sunday, just so I can get this reading vlog up in July, and while it's still kind of in the Anime Expo window for videos. And because this vlog was kind of supposed to be more focused on the books that I got at Anime Expo, or because of Anime Expo, I just figured at least finish up the books I got at Anime Expo, and then if I have time, once I finish this, and then once I read The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine and also Delicious in Dungeon, once I read everything I got or because of Anime Expo, if I have time between that and when I need to wrap this video up, I'll return to Fruits Basket. But I'm just going to focus on this now, and I'll let you know how it all goes. So I read Villains Are Destined to Die, Volume 1. This was a really fun read. I rated it 4 stars. You follow the premise of the main character is playing a dating sim. And the back says, a villain living life in hard mode, whose every path leads to death, playing daughter of the Duke's super love project as the easy mode heroine, Yvonne, makes charming the male characters a breeze. But once you switch to hard mode and step into the shoes of Penelope, the misunderstood villain, it's nearly impossible to even stay alive. So imagine the shock of suddenly waking up in Penelope's body. You know right away that your life is on the line. With love interests who will kill you if their affection meters drop too low, and the inability to speak without choosing from pre-selected dialogue, it quickly becomes clear that Penelope's chances have been rigged from the start, and this villain might just be destined to die. It really reminded me of like the Voltage dating sims that I used to play back in the day. I loved those dating sims, and it was really fun playing those. And this really just gave me those vibes, and it made me really happy just reading about like another experience like that, or like kind of stepping into that experience again in a different way in book form, in graphic novel form, and stepping into it where like you're a more villainous character, because more often than not with the dating sims, you're in the heroine mode. Even if the heroine is like morally gray, you're stepping into the mode of the heroine. So it was really nice to kind of get a different take on this, like the dating sim app stuff, in multiple different ways. So that was really nice. And I also finished To Gaze Upon Wicked Gods. I gave it a 3.25 stars out of 5, just because I do feel like it had some good moments. Just for me, it was overall just kind of a meh book. Like, there was nothing really sticking out about this book in a positive or a negative way. So I just ended up giving it a 3.25 stars because I can see people enjoying it and I see why people have enjoyed it, but it just was not for me. And at some point today, I will also be starting, probably finishing, The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine. This one also seems right up my alley. It just seems really cute and just another nice kind of chill graphic novel. And on the back, tutorial starts. From cooking to alchemy to even brewing tea, Aliette Rudlin is a certifiable child prodigy thanks to her secret weapon. She's a transmitigator. Having purchased an insurance package at the moment of her untimely end, Aliette has the perks of a top-tier support system and an item shop to fall back on. And in the world of a notoriously brutal time loop novel, she's going to need all the help she can get. Because with the hero slated for an early death, Aliette might just have the chance to become an S-Class heroine herself. And this one, again, like there obviously is like some kind of darker scenes, or like darker tone, darker colored schemes. But like on the whole, it just seems so cutesy and kind of fun. We may get darker later on in the series, but yeah, we're going with this next. And I seem to keep forgetting this arc, which I said I was going to read in this video. So once I read The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine, I will move on to the arc of Under the Oak Tree. Again, this releases November 12th of this year. I don't know if I'll finish it within this vlog, but the plan is to just at least start it, and then I'll just go with the flow and go from there. At the end of this video, if I haven't finished this, I'll just give you an update about what I think about it with whatever point I'm at in this book. Okay, so last night I finished The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine. I love like the title part on this. It's like I love it. I think I found a new favorite book of 2024 plus the start of potentially a new favorite series, which I feel like it hasn't happened for me in a while because I have had quite a few favorites this year, but I haven't really had any new favorite series yet. I think arguably you could say Lost Goddess series by Alyssa Thorne has been a new favorite, but at the same time that's like a sub series of the God's Universe series by Alyssa Thorne. So I would probably only like half count that, whereas like specifically like an independent series that's fully new to me, I think this is it. So I'm really happy about that. Obviously, this is not for everyone. I can see where people might not like it, but I absolutely loved it. And kind of just going on the main character's journey and her journey as Aliette. It's so fascinating in the way the world is approached and the story is approached is just such a fascinating concept, and everything about it is so cute. Like I love the main character and her brother, and everything about it is just like, oh my gosh, this is so cute. Like throughout this first novel I was just like, oh my gosh, this is adorable. So I'm really happy about that. New favorite series, quite possibly, if I can get my hands on volume 2 this year at some point. I'll have to look up how many books are going to be in the series, how many novels. I will put up the number on the screen once I do find it, but yeah, I'm really excited about this. And then, because I had a little bit of time last night, I read Delicious in Dungeons Volume 1 and 2, and I really enjoyed this. One thing I will say, it is kind of hard, just generally speaking, reading a manga when you've already watched the anime, especially when you love the anime and kind of remember a lot about the anime. It is hard then turning to the manga, especially when the manga you have available covers what was in the anime, and it's just like, it's not a bad thing, it's just makes it a little bit harder, you know. But there is going to be a season 2 of Delicious in Dungeon, which I'm super happy about. I think it's going to be coming out next year at some point. I'm not quite sure when in 2025, but at some point. And that should give me enough time to kind of get some more of the manga and catch up and get to a point where season 1 ended within the manga. And that way I can like read a little bit further into the manga and see how the anime differs from the manga. But this is definitely a really fun series, kind of like, I would say overall light-hearted, very turn off your brain. It's kind of like what I said in my monthly discussion, the June 2024 monthly discussion where I was talking about Delicious in Dungeon. There are some darker themes and tones to it, but 90% of it, like 80 to 90% of it, is lighthearted, kind of just turn off your brain to it. Which means that I'm now turning to Under the Oak Tree, the novel, Volume 1 by C.G. Kim. And again, this is an arc that I got at Anime Expo, and it is coming out. I've said this a few times now, but it is coming out November 12th of this year. I have read the webtoon. I didn't read a whole lot of the webtoon, but I did really like it. And if you liked the webtoon, and or if you need something to add to your TBR, this is what you can add. So to give you the synopsis, I'm just reading off the back because it is very early in the morning. Third time's the charm. Lady Maximilian is the daughter of the family. Guess we're going for 4 times. Lady Maximilian is the daughter of the powerful Duke Croiso, but she is rarely allowed outside her family's sprawling castle for fear that her stutter will tarnish their noble name. When she is forced to marry Sir Riften, a low-born knight caught in one of her father's schemes, Maxie doesn't dare hope for happiness, let alone love. Her stumbling communication and his gruff manner sour their relationship before it can begin, and Riften leaves without a word the morning after their vows are exchanged. Now, 3 years after the disastrous wedding night, Riften has returned as a war hero. To Maxie's surprise, despite rumors that he was offered marriage to Princess Agnes, a beautiful and renowned sorceress, Riften still wants Maxie for his wife. When he comes to claim her, his desire bewilders Maxie, even as she is overcome by the scorching heat that Riften's presence ignites within her. As she learns to navigate the intricacies of her new life, Maxie will find herself and her courage, and that she is anything but powerless. Geez, that was a little bit hard to get through. I'm sorry, but again, it's early. I did my best. And if you've read the webtoon, this volume collects chapters 1 through 76 of the original webtoon novel. And this is specifically fantasy romance. I don't know, right now, I don't know if I would say romantasy for this because the way I distinguish the two, like the two genres, fantasy romance versus romantasy, this is a discussion that's happened before. But the way I distinguish the two is if it's more of a fantasy plot with romance coming secondary, even if it's a close second. If romance comes secondary to the fantasy, it's a fantasy romance. And if it's more romance with the fantasy coming secondary again, even if it's a close second, if fantasy comes secondary to romance, then it's a romantasy. So I will let you all know what I think with the next update I have about this book, and I'll see you all in my next update. Okay, I'm back from Barnes& and Noble, and I made my return of Lord Hades' Ruthless Marriage, I think it's called. I got 3 books, and then I realized after the fact that they were published by Minotaur Books, I think, which is an imprint of St. Martin's Press. I wish I had looked into it before, but it is what it is, and I'm just not going to talk about them now. But the other book that I got, the third book that I got, was the duology that not a duology, it's a trilogy. It's the second book to the Bloodsworn series, and this one is The Hunger of the Gods, the first book being The Shadow of the Gods. And based on like the synopsis and reviews, I think I will like the series, so I just went ahead and bought the second book. Now it's finally on to reading Under the Oak Tree, the arc, as I've mentioned before. Okay, so I am 51% of the way through Under the Oak Tree by C.G. Kim. According to the story graph, I'm 51% of the way through. As I figured, I'm really loving this story. It is so sweet. Like, there are moments where I do get kind of annoyed, more so at the characters. It's just because they're well written, and they're meant to kind of get on your nerves every once in a while, but you kind of understand where they're coming from. Maxie and Riften are absolutely adorable together. I cannot wait for this to come out and to be officially published in November. This is a really good book. I'm really enjoying it. I know I'm going to give it like 4.5 to 5 stars once I do finish it. And that's where I'm going to end this video just because things are getting a little bit busy for me right now and I just want to be able to wrap this video up. I think my favorite book from this reading vlog has been The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine, and I'm choosing this one just because I instantly fell in love with it. And all the other books, the manga and graphic novels and manhwa, they were all stories that I was already knowledgeable about, already kind of in that world, And it was The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine and Villains Are Destined to Die that were the two that I didn't have a whole lot of knowledge on aside from just looking covers. I really enjoyed both, but between the two, The Perks of Being an S-Class Heroine was definitely the one that really grabbed my attention, and I was like kind of squealing over every 5 sentences in 5 frames. So it was just like such a cute story. I definitely recommend all of the books that I read in this reading vlog, all of the series, manga, and graphic novels. If you've read any of these, please comment your thoughts down below. I would love to hear what other people thought about them. And if you have recommendations you think that I would like or people with similar tastes would like based on what I read in this reading reading vlog, please leave them down below in the comments because I would love to read more, like all the books that I read within this reading vlog. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.